Hello guys, it's me, it's Tom. Welcome. I am here today on day probably 7 of quarantine. And most people, they think, quarantine's gonna be difficult, impossible. I don't. It's an introvert's paradise. I like it a lot. So I was gonna talk about how I got this scar, and that is gonna come tomorrow. Instead, I'm gonna talk about creativity because last night I had a stroke of genius and I created an absolute masterpiece. Okay, are you ready? Prepare yourself. Take a look at this. Wow. So all of the empty bottles they gave me, all of the spoons, all of the chopsticks, I made like a city out of them. I was inspired by the 1927 movie Metropolis. Some people may say it's a Vermeer. I don't think anyone would really. Maybe a Picasso. I would probably call it a Tracy Emin. I think it's a Tracy Emin. But wow, guys, 10 out of 10, right? So, I know what you're saying. Who the hell is Tracy Emin? She's a UK artist that sold her bed at auction for like £1 million. That's pretty crazy. I have this cool lens flare going on, like I'm in a J.J. Abrams movie. So yeah, she's a bit crazy. My mother went to university, and she was there at that university, so they kind of know each other. But she's my mom always called her crazy. She's a bit loopy, yeah, like a loopy aunt kind of figure. Anyway, this got me thinking. I was like, wow, my art is really fantastic nowadays, right? 10 out of 10, right? Yeah. But what about when I was a kid? A few days ago, when I was back in England, I was cleaning out some of my boxes of old stuff, and I find a lot of my artwork from when I was 7 years old. Do you want to have a look? Yes? No? Wait, why would you say no to that? That's a fantastic invitation. So yeah, here's a look at some of my artwork. This is a picture of me when I was 7, 8 years old. As you can see from my inability to spell the letter A, I was quite stupid, but I was cute. Something clearly has gone wrong since then. So in an English lesson, the teacher said, you need to draw a snake with what you are worried about on the snake, which is a very typical classroom activity. First snake I drew was too thin. Second snake I drew again was too thin. Third time I guess I drew a sausage and wrote, I am worried about when I see my guinea pig in the bushes. So sometimes my guinea pigs would run away and get lost, and they would go in the bushes. So that explains that. Do you remember when the first Pokemon movie came out? At the time I was very into Pokemon, so I decided to draw a few of my favorites. In the bottom right, we have I don't know what that is, it looks kind of Asian. The main picture is of a Pikachu who looks very sad and depressed. I expect it has just received news of a death in the family. I mean, why would I not draw a happy Pikachu? What was wrong with me? Here I drew a story. It's reminiscent of Romulus and Remus. It's called Bye Bye Baby. In the first picture, the man, he looks very distraught because he dropped a baby into the river, I think he should be distraught, yeah. And then in the second picture, for some reason, he is saying bye to the baby. You know, when you drop the baby in the river, you say bye. And then the third picture, just some strange man picks it up. This is a pretty good story, although I did not write underneath it because I can express my thoughts into pictures and not into words. And now it is story time. On the way, we were playing the ABC game. We were doing it on capital cities. We got all the capital cities except for X and Q. That is quite impressive. Later, we reached our destination. When I saw it, I recognized it on the sign. It said RSPCA. We were probably here to pick up the baby bulldog. We picked up the cutest one. There, it was so cute that when we got home, Dad let him in the house. It was the best Christmas ever. However, it is false. It is all lies. This never happened. I have no idea why I would lie to my English teacher. Now I will give you 5 seconds to try and guess what this is. This is in fact The Cat in the Hat, the 2004 live-action remake of the Dr. Seuss book. It's absolutely terrifying. The actual movie ends the picture I drew. I don't know if I made it more terrifying. If anything, it's a little surreal. For some reason, I really liked this film as a kid. Yeah, this is definitely a creature that can invade your nightmares. Now, this picture is quite clearly of Queen Elizabeth I. She also, like the Cat in the Hat, she also invades nightmares. I mean, what's wrong with her head? Why is it that shape? It's so weird. Why was everyone I drew as a kid depressed? Why? What was wrong with me? Now, this is very difficult to explain. I'm not quite sure what this is myself. It looks like 2 people trying to cook, but I don't think they are people. One of them is a Simpson. One of them has a pencil for a nose. You could even call it surrealist. Maybe Dali or David Lynchian. It's just very, very uncomfortable. Now, this is something I'm very proud of. Look at this picture. All these fantastic portraits. We have King Henry VIII. We have his 6 wives. They're all there. It's pretty good. So it turns out that last picture I didn't draw. Instead, I drew this picture of Henry VIII. It's definitely my masterpiece. This is the one. Why is his face so small and his head so big? Oh my god. And the teacher's comments underneath the picture says, "Is this all? Where's the writing?" She clearly doesn't understand my genius. So as a kid, I was a little bit of a poet. I was a poet and I didn't know it. Here is a poem I made about some of my teachers. Mrs. Coombs came for tombs in a submarine. Mrs. Waits turned her fates in Halloween. Mr. Edwards got sweets and goods and gave them to the poor. Mrs. Dickinson did a Lickingson on a sweaty in Mexican law. This is weird. I liked Mrs. Dickinson. She was like the best teacher, so I don't understand. Mrs. Hawkins attacked with forkins in somebody's knee. Mrs. Newsbury did a raspberry at me. Mrs. Bridgeland worked at Toyland, the place where it was always sunny. Mrs. Ashton came from Cashton bring back a lot of money. It's very clever. Mrs. Rhodes does absolutely loads and more work. Mrs. Moore lied to the law. When she does, she a big slurk. Yeah, I was quite a poet, right? I think Shakespeare would be proud. So, talking about the teachers really quick, there was a teacher in the last poem called Mrs. Waits. I didn't like her. I had her so much as a kid. When she came onto the playground, all the kids, they would start chanting, Mrs. Waits, she's always late. She's too big for shark bait. And for someone who's like 8 years old at the time, that was pretty impressive. So yeah, I mean, that's the end of my creative endeavors as a 7, 8-year-old. I hope you enjoyed. It's quite funny to look back at this stuff. I bet you just expected a regular vlog, didn't you? Well, too bad. Anyway, I will see you again. Thank you for joining. Goodbye.